Next week marks the 225th anniversary of one of the most famous shipwrecks off the coast of Delaware. And coming up this summer is the 27th anniversary of the second time that same ship went down. Now, I know what you're saying. That makes no sense. How does a ship sink in 1798 and then again in 1986? Well, mysteries like these are the reason we keep Jim Duffy of Secrets of the Eastern Shore on call and at the ready. And here he is right now. Thank you so much for being here. Good afternoon. All right, so this all begins in 1798.
You know, shipwrecks are really strange things.
Yeah.
So in the moment they happen, it's disaster. You know, I mean, people are losing their lives, they're losing businessmen are losing their fortunes, and then tick, 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 time goes by, time goes by. And all of a sudden, it's like you're in one of those magical scenes in a Hollywood movie where you're seeing the shimmering ship and the fish swimming through, and you know, all these valuable items that are underwater. So this story covers both sides of that.
Okay.
So the debraak, there are two reasons why the ship called the debraak went down, might have went down in 1798. And the first is that it was originally built as a merchant ship, and then it got changed into a warship, and in part of doing that, they added a second mast to it. And the captain always complained that the second mast, they did it wrong, that it took in too much wind and it was overmasted, and a couple of times he almost went over when he was just out there sailing. But the second one is that captain himself. The captain himself, his name was James Drew. He was a hothead of the First Order. And he comes across the Atlantic in May of 1798. He captures along the way a Spanish ship, a Spanish merchant ship.
Okay.
They both come up and they're at Cape Henlopen. Now what happens, because Cape Henlopen's a dangerous place, is they would bring a local pilot, and the local pilot would bring the ship in. This local pilot gets on there, and he notices black clouds off in the distance and says, you know what, we better sit this one out. He tells them to bring the sails down, starts ordering the crew around. This hothead captain, and everybody who saw him that day says he was probably really drunk, blows a gasket and says, you stupid local yokel, what are you doing? You don't know what you're doing. Get those sails back up, we're sailing right now.
Oh boy.
Didn't work out very well. The ship went down in minutes, and there you're in the tragedy moment, because 47 people died. There were 30 survivors, all right? One of the guys local people who acted as a first responder was a guy named Gilbert McCracken. He took in 3 prisoners from that Spanish captured ship and fed them and dried them off and everything else. These Spanish prisoners told him that they had taken all of these valuable things off the Spanish ship and moved it onto the debraak before the debraak went down.
Oh no.
So he gets out on the beach and he draws this map of where he thinks the debraak went down. And presumably he went looking for it, he couldn't find it. His sons presumably went looking for it, they couldn't find it. Tick, 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 tick. 80 years in the future. Somebody finds, all this story's been lost, somebody finds this treasure map inside of the McCracken family Bible and publicizes it. So now there's this map, all this legend of treasure. So over the course of a century, between 1880 and the 1980s, 14 different people applied for permits to go looking for it. None of them could find it. And then in 1986, a guy named Harrington, he finds it.
Yeah.
And the plan is to bring it up like a baby out of a crib, like cradled in your arms. And then it's deja vu all over again, because there's a bad weather forecast.
No.
He's running out of money. He's running out of time. He can't bring all his rented stuff back and then bring it back out again. So he decides to rush it through. And instead of coming up, they rush it, there was a problem with a crane, and instead of coming up like a cradled baby, comes up like a baby that you're holding by the foot.
Oh no.
And everything
just falls
spills
back
out.
in.
And that's how
It
the
sank
debraak
the second time.